Am I the a-hole? Should I divorce my wife after she believed I was capable of something heinous? I'm 38 male, considering divorcing my wife 37 female. Last summer, around June, my stepdaughter 10 female had a friend 11 female over for a sleepover. I won't go into all the details, but to make a very long and terrifying story short, I was accused by that friend of something I did not do. I was arrested and detained for nearly a week before my brother hired an attorney on my behalf. Eventually, I was released without charges due to a lack of probable cause. FYI, just to clear up a common misconception, it's a myth that police have to charge you within 48 hours or let you go. In my case, I was held for 6 days without being charged. Absolutely get a lawyer, even if they say there aren't any charges yet. Now on to why I'm thinking about divorce. My wife and I have been married for 8 years, and we have 2 kids together, 3 male and 5 female. I thought I knew her better than anyone. She was my best friend, my soulmate, my safe place, or so I believed. But the day my stepdaughter's friend made those accusations and I was arrested, I can still vividly remember the look on my wife's face. Absolute horror, disgust, revulsion. Even when I told her it wasn't true, even when I pleaded that she knew me better than that, she just looked at me like I was the lowest person alive. She didn't take my calls while I was detained. She didn't get me a lawyer. My brother did. When it was eventually revealed that my stepdaughter's friend had fabricated a story for TikTok attention, I was finally released and allowed to come home. Afterward, my wife tried to make things right. She became extra kind, attentive, and apologetic. She said she was sorry for not believing me. She explained that, in her defense, she didn't want to be the kind of mother who dismissed a child's report of abuse. She said that too many allegations are ignored or not taken seriously, which can lead to further harm. We went through couples counseling together, trying to rebuild what was broken. But despite therapy and her many efforts, I can't seem to forgive her. I've lost my trust in her completely. Every time I look at her, all I see is that expression of utter disgust and horror as I was being taken away. She keeps begging me for another chance, and I don't know if I can give it to her. Throughout all our years of marriage, we've always been united, best friends who talked openly, believed in each other, and supported one another. I can't even remember the last time we had a real fight before this. So, am I the a-hole for not wanting to give our marriage another chance and moving forward with a divorce? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If you can't get past it, then you can't get past it. Of course you should try everything you can to do so if you want to. But if you don't or can't, I don't see how staying together is the better option. Also, there's definitely a middle ground between not dismissing a child's report of abuse and refusing to take your calls or get you a lawyer from jail. 100% this. She definitely did not find that middle ground. Not sure there's any coming back from that. This is not the first time I've heard someone post about being accused of sexual assault by a minor as a TikTok challenge. Why are kids doing this? What's the purpose? 15 minutes of fame looks very different today than it did 20 years ago, my friend. And the consequences for stepdaughter's friend? Wait, let me guess. Absolutely nothing. That's a tough one. I totally get where you are coming from. Being disbelieved for something that heinous would be very hard to overcome. Not the a-hole. Correct. I tried going after the parents with a civil litigation attorney. Since the parents weren't involved in the allegations, the child made the story up completely on her own. I was told I couldn't go after them because they were not legally responsible for their child's actions in this kind of situation. And due to the child's age, she was 11 at the time, I couldn't sue her personally. I hate to say this about a child, but I do hope she gets karmic justice. That little girl played a huge role in the destruction of your marriage just for kicks. A school bus driver in our town was falsely accused by a boy on his bus. Even after the truth was known, his life and reputation were ruined. He and his family ended up moving away. He was such a nice man, and there were no consequences for the kid who ruined his life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for filing divorce papers after I said I would? I have been married for a little over 5 years. My daughter Faith, 22 female, from a previous relationship lives with us while she finishes school. At the beginning of our relationship, my wife and Faith got along really well. However, I realized that my wife and I have very different viewpoints on parenting and handling conflict. My wife has no biological kids and came in when Faith was a teenager, so she didn't have to parent the same way she would if Faith were a toddler. We implemented some new tasks, chores, and house rules. Nothing major. Also, Faith has a small part-time job while in school and contributes toward groceries and rent. I agreed to support her as long as she was in school. My wife is OCD and conflict avoidant, which plays out as this. She gets upset when things aren't done exactly when and how she thinks they should be. For example, she complains or yells about Faith not unloading the dishwasher or not taking out the trash right that moment. But instead of addressing the issues with Faith directly, she asks me to do it. Despite the fact that I've told her multiple times that she can and should speak to Faith. I end up enabling the behavior by telling Faith the list of complaints, and she corrects them for the most part, with the occasional slip-up here or there. Rinse and repeat. But then my wife started complaining to any of her friends who would listen about how I wasn't tough enough on Faith and how lazy and entitled she is. I very recently discovered that not only has she been basically crap-talking her and putting her down, but also telling people that I am a terrible parent who raised a spoiled kid. Yelling in her face and treating her like garbage is not a parenting plan. Last year, it got to a point where I'd had it and flipped on everybody. I told Faith to get herself together and save up for an apartment, but I also told my wife that I'd had enough of how she talked to and about everybody in the house, and that she needed anger management or therapy. I told her that if she was unwilling to do that, I would absolutely file for divorce. Fast forward to a few days ago. After last year's blow-up, my wife has taken to not speaking to Faith unless she has to. The other night we got in an argument, and my wife basically admitted she hated Faith. She went so far as to call her a few choice names and said that she, my wife, would not be attending any holiday or family gatherings where Faith would be because she didn't want to be around her. Needless to say, I was stunned. I admit I knew their relationship was still strained, but figured they'd work it out as adults, which is what I'd asked them to do. As soon as we got home, I immediately went upstairs and printed out divorce papers. I told my wife I would be filing this week and left the forms for her to sign. All of our finances and things have always been separate, and while my wife works full-time, I handle 99% of the household expenses, so it should be a fairly quick process. This morning, my wife sent me a text saying she didn't want a divorce and thought I was overreacting. I reminded her that she was told a year ago that if she didn't get counseling or learn how to better self-manage, she thinks she doesn't need therapy and that I just can't see her point of view, and that makes me a terrible parent. Apparently, I would file for divorce. I also reminded her that I've always been a person of my word, so I don't know why she thought I wasn't serious about it. She called me an a-hole and said I was probably planning it all along. I wasn't. I promise this is very much the nuclear option. I love my wife, but I told her she's essentially making me choose between her and my kid, and that is a dick move. Even if Faith moves out, which she's planning to do anyway, I don't see the problem going away. Thank you if you've read this far. I'm holding the papers until Friday when I can go handle it in person, and I still need her to sign a page. But before I blow up my marriage, I want some outside judgment on whether I'm the a-hole for going this route, after warning her I would. Edit. So I don't have to keep posting it. Faith isn't moving because of an ultimatum. I'm not kicking her out. She's continuing her education at a school 40 minutes away. She wants to move closer to the school. Not the a-hole. Your wife doesn't just have an issue with your daughter. She was also trashing you. She won't stop until you cut off all contact with your daughter. You need to decide which you want, your daughter in your life, or someone who seems willing to cut off and trash anyone she doesn't like. And even if he did cut the daughter out, the wife would trash talk him. Crap talkers have to have someone to talk about. It'll be him if Faith is out of the picture. Divorce ASAP. I told my husband I would go to counseling with him or file in 6 months. 6 months later, he hadn't done or changed a thing, so I filed. I get exactly where you're coming from, OP. Until she radically changes her attitude and actions toward Faith, you really have no choice. You can't be married to someone who hates your child and who refuses to be at the same family gathering. Sorry this is happening. Plus, it is exhausting being around people who lack emotional regulation and unbearable to live with them. Like seriously, learn how to communicate in a way that doesn't involve shouting and fit throwing. That's toddler behavior. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not replying to my ex after he broke up with me? A 29 female got broken up with by my ex 30 male about a month ago. He ended things because he said we were incompatible. Basically, I had a boundary that I was clear about since day one, and he told me he couldn't commit to it anymore. He said there was no way to fix it unless one of us changed our core beliefs, and that he wouldn't want that either. So I agreed. He said he wanted to stay friends, but I told him no. I said it would blur the lines and probably just turn toxic. I told him I needed time to heal before even considering friendship in the future. He said he understood, and we've been no contact since. Then a few weeks later, he messaged me saying he hoped I was doing well. I didn't reply. Before we broke up, I had already made a virtual birthday card for him, and since it was scheduled, I decided to let it send. He replied to that, thanked me for the thoughtful card, and said jokingly that I should reply to his earlier message. I still didn't respond. The next day, he emailed me saying, "I suppose you don't want to talk. Fair enough." Now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole for not replying? I just feel like it's too soon. I still miss him, and if I reply, it'll only make things messy and harder to move on. Honestly, I don't think we could ever get back together at this point. He's broken up with me twice already, and I can't help but feel resentment over how easily he let me go. If he really had something important to say, I feel like he would have said it already. Still, his fair enough hurt. I want to reply because we ended on good terms and we used to communicate so well, but I also don't want to give the impression that I'll always be available, even after he chose to end things. So, am I the a-hole for staying silent? Edit. To clarify some common points from the replies. 1. The original boundary was about having sex and the timing of it. He agreed to it when we first started talking, but changed his mind, which led to him breaking up with me. 2. We didn't formally agree to a no-contact rule, but we did agree not to stay friends, at least for a while. After our closure talk, he stopped messaging me, which naturally turned into no contact. Later, he reached out again on different apps, but I didn't respond to any of them. Then I let the virtual birthday card send, which I now realize was a mistake. I understand how it could have made him think I was open to talking again, so his disappointment or hurt is valid. 3. Him breaking up with me, then stopping contact, then messaging again made things messy. And sending that card didn't help either. I don't think replying now would do either of us any good. I do feel I owe him an apology for the card, and I plan to send it when I'm ready, likely in a few months. I want that apology to be calm, clear, and genuine, so as not to disturb his peace or create expectations. Getting the card probably looked like an olive branch to him, so he tried to contact you again. The fair enough comment made sense. You said no contact. He tried, and you shut it down. Then you sent a card. What's he supposed to think? This. Draw a line in the sand and don't cross it. Yeah, sending the card is the definition of mixed signals. That being said, looks like homeboy is already starting to have regrets for breaking up. Not surprising. Oh well, breakups are almost never clean, but moving forward, draw a line and stick to it OP. Soft, you're the a-hole for the card. You would be further the a-hole if you respond to his email. I had to go no contact with a partner once. Letting that person's birthday go by and not communicating made it more real than any breakup convo ever could have. Actually go no contact now. No more cards. No replies. No explanations. Maybe even block him. Do this for yourself. Don't tell him anything. You already communicated everything that needed to be said. Anything at this point is to make yourself feel better, but it'll actually do the opposite. Don't reopen the wound. Let your grieving and healing process continue. Last story. Am I the a-hole for giving up custody of my children after a long and thought-out trial? So, I 45 male and my wife 46 female have gone through a nasty divorce. I caught her cheating with my 16-year-old son in the house. He sleeps in the basement, and he was working during the weekend so he didn't hear them. He was asleep. I came home early and caught them in the act. I screamed and kicked them out. I do own the house. A week later, my ex-wife contacted me saying she was bringing me to court and fighting for custody. I love both my son and daughter, but she comes from money and has a team of lawyers. I own a small mechanics shop in the rural hamlet we live in, so I don't have much money to spend on a lawyer. Her lover works in the city as a building inspector and has been caught snooping around my shop lately, so I'm worried he'll try to take it away. My son stayed with me after I told him, and my daughter doesn't know. All I told her was that Mom is on a work trip. My ex hasn't reached out to the kids at all and only speaks to me about court, as if she had planned this. Yesterday, we had the first hearing. She told the judge I was abusive and insane, and that she cheated as a cry for help. I was pissed. I held my own, and my lawyer made good points. The next hearing was scheduled, but this has taken a toll on me. My friend is looking over my shop while I take a break. I don't want to give up on my kids, but with her argument, I don't think I will survive this. If it comes to it, am I the a-hole? Document everything and file a claim against her lover for harassment and let his office know. That's a big thing in a government position. And if she comes from money, you may be able to find a lawyer to go pro bono or on contingency. I've worked in legal aid. Family law is consistently the most difficult area to find pro bono representation because of how contentious the cases are and how long they go. Because they don't generate large settlements, they are never taken on contingency. The best he could hope for if he has to represent himself is a self-help center at the family law courthouse, which tends to be separate from the regular county courthouse that can assist him in filling out paperwork for filing. That self-help center would be listed on the website for the county courts. Document. Also, if you have the funds, a PI could help you out a lot by following both her and him. Are you in an at-fault area? Alienation of affection is a real thing. Top that off with a licensed city official abusing their position? Heck, you could go after the city for that. The kids will feel you don't care about them if you don't fight for them, and she will likely turn them against you every way she can and use this as the and she needs to do it. So, do you love your kids? If yes, then suck it up and fight. Yeah, kids are very likely to hold this against OP, whether consciously or unconsciously, if he doesn't try to move the son to have as much custody as possible. It won't emotionally matter that the odds seemed grim. What will matter is if he tried or not. Your son likely has some say at this point. If your daughter is also old enough to be informed, then she should be. Your lie is only protecting your wife. Be honest and factual with your kids at a developmentally appropriate level. Don't speak poorly of their mom to them, but be upfront about what is going on, what she is saying, and the retaliation risks here. A therapist can help you explain these things as well if need be. Be honest. Don't give up on them.